What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be learning how to convert from vertex form to standard form. Over here at the top we have our vertex form, which is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, and here we have standard form, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. We'll be converting from this form, vertex form, to this form, standard form. And it's pretty simple. All you necessarily have to do is simplify your vertex form and then you'll result with your standard form. So in today's lesson, I'm going to walk you through one example and give you the opportunity to try the last two on your own. So let's begin. And here's our first example. X minus 3 squared plus 4. That is our quadratic equation given to us in vertex form, and now we want to find out how to make that into standard form. Now, as I said before, this is basically just simplifying. All we want to do is simplify the equation, and then we'll get our quadratic equation in standard form. And what that means is it has to do with this square. You can see that there is an x minus 3 squared in this vertex form quadratic equation, so all we have to do is just simplify it, which means you have to square the binomials. Now, you must have learned you need to know how to square binomials to convert from vertex form to standard form, but just for a little reminder, I'll show you how to do it right now. So an easier way to think of it is separating x minus 3 squared into two terms. X minus 3 squared is just x minus 3 times x minus 3. And now that you've made it into two different terms, or two similar terms because both are x minus 3, you can just distribute. And remember, distribution has to do with distributing both of the terms in the first binomial to both of the terms in the second. And what that means is you want to distribute this x to this x squared and 3, and we also want to distribute this negative 3 to this x and negative 3. So let's start off with the x. First we distribute x to this x, we get x squared, because distribute means multiply, and x times x is x squared. Then we have x times negative 3, which is minus 3x. Now that we finished distributing the x in the first binomial, we want to distribute the negative 3. So now if we do negative 3 times x, we get minus 3x again. And then we have negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. And now if we combine like terms, we just add the negative 3x and we add negative 3x to negative 3x, which gives us negative 6x. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 9. So after squaring this binomial of x minus 3, we get x squared minus 6x plus 9. So now we also have a 4, so really what we would have for this example is x squared minus 6x plus 9 minus 4. And then we add 9 to negative 4, which would result in x squared minus 6x plus 5. And this is our standard form for this vertex form and quadratic equation. We went from this vertex form to this standard form. So remember, it really is the easy matter of simplifying your vertex form, and then you result with your standard form quadratic equation. So now that I've explained to you how to simplify your vertex form to get to standard form, let me just give you a little tip before we move on to the second and third examples, and it has to do with squaring binomials. Whenever you square binomials, you need to realize that both of these terms, x minus 3, are the exact same. So instead of actually bringing this out and doing all the distribution and showing your work, you can do it in your head. All you have to do is first take this x and use a 2. So that means x squared. Because there's a square in this binomial, you are also squaring the x and you're also squaring the 2. So if we start off with the first term, we have x squared. So there we go. And then we also see we have a negative 3. One term is an x and then another is negative 3. So we'd also square a negative 3, and then negative 3 squared is plus 9. Now we need to find the middle term. And finding the middle term is a little trickier, but there is a procedure to it. All you have to do is multiply the two terms in the binomial, or the variable and the number, and then you multiply that by 2. So for example, we see in this binomial we have x and negative 3. So all we do is multiply negative 3 to x, and that would give us negative 3x. Now that we have negative 3x, we multiply that by 2, and then we get minus 6x. And if you think about it, it makes sense because after we make x minus 3 squared into x minus 3 times x minus 3, we get 2 minus 3x's, which is what we did here. We just multiplied minus 3x by 2. So that's an easier way to find x minus 3 squared by just doing in your head. Square the x, square the number, and find the middle term by multiplying the x and the number, and then multiplying that by 2. So now that I've explained to you two different ways to square your binomials, try the next problem on your own. And here we have it. 2 times x plus 2 squared minus 2. Pause the video if you want to try this on your own. Alright, so let me explain how it goes to you guys. This is basically the same exact sort of vertex form quadratic equation in the last one, but this time we'll have to multiply this inside after squaring the binomial by 2. So first, always, let's start off with squaring this binomial. And remember, now we can do it in our head. So we have the x squared. And to find the middle term, we multiply the two numbers inside and multiply that by 2. So we have 2 times x, which is 2x, and then 2x times 2, which is 4x. So now we add 4x. And finally, we square the number, which is positive 2. Positive 2 squared is just positive 4. So now that we've squared our binomial, we want to multiply every variable or every term in this square. After we square the binomial, we want to multiply every term in this by 2. We want to distribute the 2. So all that means is just distributing the 2 to the x squared, to the plus 4x, and to the 4. So 2 times x squared is 2x squared, 2 times 4x is plus 8x, and 2 times 4 is 8. And then we have the minus 2. Not a positive 2, but a minus 2 right here. And all we have to do is combine like terms for these two numbers. So plus 8 minus 2 is plus 6, which means we would end up with 2x squared plus 8x plus 6 for the quadratic equation in standard form in this example. It really is just a matter of simplifying to convert from vertex form to standard form, and it is that easy. So now let's move on to our last example, and you guys will have one last chance to try one on your own. And here it is, 3 times x minus 6 squared plus 15. This one might have a little more big numbers, but it is the same method. Pause the video if you want to try it on your own. Okay, let me explain it to you guys now. Once again, the same thing. We want to square the binomial first. So x squared is just x squared. Then we have to find the middle term. So minus 6 times x is negative 6, and then negative 6 times 2 is negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And then negative 6x times 2 is negative 12x. Now that we found the x squared in the middle term, we want to find negative 6 squared, which is just plus 36. Now that we found that by squaring the binomial, we want to distribute 3 to each term in this. So 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times negative 12x is negative 36x. And then 3 times 36 is 108. And then we also have a 15 at the end. So now we combine like terms. We add 108 to 15, and then we finally have 3x squared minus 36x plus 123. And there is our standard form quadratic equation for this example. So I hope you guys learned how to convert from vertex form to standard form by looking at this lesson. And if you did, please consider dropping a sub, and also go check out our playlist on Mat 2. Thank you for watching.